Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome back to the channel. Um, I am a hermit by nature and inclination. I had the most unhermity weekend possible this past weekend. Before we get to the actual, what I'm sharing with y'all tonight, let me just go over the weekend with you because I promised I would. I promised I'd tell you all about it. So Friday night was Paranormal Circus, which if this comes to your town, definitely check it out. It was a lot of fun. It was really cool. It's basically a circus. They have kind of standard circus acts, but they dress it up with a lot of like kind of goth and horror uh, trappings, and it was so much fun. It was really great. Um, Highly recommend. And then Monday, and then Saturday, a very dear friend of mine who I don't get to see too often. His name is Mike. Mike came into town with his girl, and she went off to the paranormal circus to hang out with her friends, and Mike hung out with me, so I got to spend some time with him. And at that point, my peopling bar was like flashing, like it was full, and then some. So Sunday at the ass crack of dawn, I got up. Actually, it was before dawn, and we went to a Ren Fair in North Carolina. Went about a 3 hour drive from here, and it was a very dear friend of mine, David, and it was his birthday, and one of his buddies, Brian, had kind of made this happen, and they invited me along, which I was really happy about. So we spent the day at the Ren Fair. I got to see jousting. I've never been to a Ren Fair before in my life, so it was really neat, and I had a really good time. So uh, I was I was a tired little puppy when I got home last night. I crashed out. I've been working on Golgotha 5 and trying desperately to see how quick I can get that done for my publisher. Um, but I wanted to share something with you that I came across that I thought you guys would be interested in. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with an author named Joe Abercrombie. You probably are. If you're into science fiction and fantasy, predominantly fantasy, Joe Abercrombie is kind of like a rock star right now. He's had some very popular books, very popular series, um, and his first trilogy. The name of it is eluding me. The First Law trilogy, um, was his first thing out the door, and it has been very successful, very popular. So I found a cool little article online where they were talking to Joe Abercrombie about writing and about some of the philosophies he has in writing. And while some of them are kind of different from mine, I can see the core of where he's coming from. And writing, every person's going to write different. If you give a room full of people the same writing prompt, you're going to get very, very different stories. And the process of how they get that story to you is going to be very different. So I found what he was saying really fascinating. I took some things from it for myself, and I thought I would share it with you guys and see what you think. Um, let's see. And this particular story comes to us from, why is that there? This is from SFX. It's a story they put up. I hate all these fucking ads they have. It's like super clickbaity. It's constantly been trying to like throw up other ads and ask me stupid poll questions and stuff like that. Much thanks to SFX for this wonderful article. Um, but just let's all just calm the hell down, shall we? SFX, let's just calm down a little bit. There is Joe Abercrombie's smiling face. Interesting guy. Um, Apparently did a lot of work with production work and documentaries, um, including stuff for like Coldplay, Barry White, a whole bunch of other like musical performers, and at some point jumped into writing. Came at it kind of sort of as something to do. And his first his first law, is that right? Yeah. uh Basically, his first trilogy took a while to get sold. It bounced around quite a bit before it found a publisher. It was not an easy sell, but when he did sell it, it sold very well. And he's developed a whole uh, world off of that initial trilogy. And he's also written a YA book that, gosh, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on it here, guys. He's written a YA book that won the Locus Awards. But I just thought I would give you a couple little things from this article, and then I'm going to link it in the description of the video so you guys can check out the rest of it yourself. I do recommend you read the article, and I also recommend you check out his books, because I was speaking to a fella last month who is kind of an aspiring writer, and we were talking about Joe Abercrombie and how much this guy really digs his writing. He's sort of from the same kind of school. He's kind of taking like a page from George Martin. He's trying to take kind of classic fantasy and sort of flip it. So it has a lot of the kind of the tropes of classic fantasy, but they're being, I hate saying subverting expectations, because everything I've ever seen that subverts expectations deliberately is a piece of crap. So I'm not going to say subverts expectations. I'm going to say he's taking something that's familiar and he is trying to flip it, trying to change it up and make it something new and exciting. Matter of fact, he talks about that a little bit in here. But I'm just going to hit a couple of these. One of the first ones that I thought was interesting is, are there any shortcuts for getting a narrative moving? That's the question they ask him. And he replies, I think a writer should always be getting on with it, even in a big ass epic fantasy novel. So it's triply true for a short story. And then the kind of the pull quote here is, drop your reader in the midst of the action and let them find their own way out. Ask yourself about every scene, every paragraph, every line, and every word, if this is really necessary. If not, cut. Never waste time on anything that you yourself find dull. And that is actually excellent advice. I've thought that myself many times. If you're writing something and you're bored, how do you think the people who are reading it are going to be any different than that? So writing to excite, writing to move the narrative and move the characters to new places and move forward, that sense of kind of kinesis and action, that's a really good chunk of advice, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. If you're bored, how the hell can you expect anyone else to be entertained? And that's what we're really doing here, after all, entertaining. I think that quote is what made me want to share this with you guys, because I really felt like that's a good, solid piece of advice that a lot of writers could benefit from, including me. I after reading this, I am kind of interested in trying to write maybe a short piece to start with in Abercrombie style, because his stuff is really brutal. It's very kind of low fantasy. It kind of borders on military fantasy a little bit. And basically he addresses world building here too. Let me see. Do you have any tips on establishing a fictional universe, making it believable? And he says, for me, when it comes to world building, less is so much more. And see, that's somewhere where he and I differ. Poring over your maps and getting the names of your months in Elvish isn't necessarily wasted time, but remember that it's very much secondary to the task of actually writing. Very true. I did a video on that not too long ago about the balance you have to strike between research and writing, actual writing. To use a movie metaphor, the world is the sets and the best sets ever are never going to make up for rubbish acting, script, camera work, editing, and direction. And I totally agree with that. You can meticulously build your world. If you fill it with boring, flat, uninteresting characters, it doesn't matter. The things that make a fantasy novel good are the same things that make another novel good. Interesting characters, sharp dialogue, effective action, plot twists you don't see coming, and getting on with it. So I also thought that was an excellent bit of advice. Let's see. Wanted to see if there was another one here. There was one particular. Let me see if I can find it. We start a little bit more about world building here. How important are believable details in comparison to big picture stuff? The great and liberating thing about writing compared to film or TV or painting is that you don't have to describe every detail. You need only describe things that are strictly necessary, that add in some way to the scene. If you find your writing is clogged up with description, try cutting it all and using only the dialogue or action. The reader might not care what color hair, color is spelled all Britishy, I love that. Color hair your characters have, or the shape of the leaves on the special tree you invented. That might be a little bit of a dig at George Martin. Let them fill in that stuff with their own imaginations. They might well prefer that way, and you're left free to get on with it. If you see a narrative theme there, it's get on with it. He's very much a very kinetic, move stuff forward, keep it moving, go 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 kind of writer. And I am personally very guilty of this. I was actually talking with my friend Mike about this Saturday, and he's like, he was talking about one of the books I've written. I think it was Nightwise. He said, I really love Nightwise, but one, your sex scene sucked. I'll give you that, granted. Two, you describe fucking everything. And that is something I do. And some people love that. Other people hate it. It's just a matter of taste. And to be honest, since I've heard that critique numerous times, I have tried to, in later things I've written, tried to describe less. But part of it for me is, and I'm not trying to naysay what Joe Abercrombie is talking about here. That is a completely valid way of writing. It's something that I personally, as a writer, like I said, would consider trying that out, to discipline myself to do it that way and see how it affects my writing. That's one of the things I love about writing too. One of the things I love about reading and writing is there isn't, well, I'm not going to say there isn't a wrong way to do it. There are lots of folks who are much more adept at it than others, but you can change your style. You don't have to be locked into it. And it's actually a trap, because a lot of writers, especially once they get a little success, they start writing the same thing the same way, and it's like living death. So I like what he's going for here. Is he's saying, don't muck it all up with a bunch of stuff you don't need, and just keep it to the basics. And I have known people who are like, it drives me crazy if I don't know what the character looks like. It drives me crazy if I can't visualize that, this or that, and they just expect me to do it. And it's a writing trick. It's actually a narrative trick. Is you let the reader's brain fill in all that stuff for you. And sometimes that can be to your advantage, like H.P. Lovecraft, for example. He basically, would a lot of times not specifically describe what the horror was. He would let your brain, the crevices in your brain kind of fill in the descriptions. So that is a way to go. Some people want description. Tolkien was pretty big on describing. And see, I can be honest with you, there are things that in Tolkien that used to drive me nuts, like describing stopping to eat and what they were eating and all this kind of shit. Some people love that, other people don't. But what Joe A here is saying is basically, try cutting If you think you have too much description, try, less can be good, less can be more. And one of the things I truly respect about all this, because he speaks with a lot of swag. He really does. He just speaks with a lot of swagger, a lot of confidence, and with a track record like his, he's entitled to it. He absolutely is, on fire. The last few years, he has been extremely popular. And like I said, I think I would recommend give his stuff a try. If you're into fantasy and you want something that's kind of a breath of fresh air, give it a shot. See if you like it. He finishes up with "get on with it." Yeah, I know. Again, get on with it. Get on with it and forget everything I just said. There are no rules. It's fantasy. So, and I don't entirely agree. I agree with the sentiment, if not the actual statement, because there are rules in fantasy. Every world has rules. Even if you're going to break them, you kind of need to at least have them in the back of your mind. But what he's really saying, he's talking more about getting down to the visceral guts of your writing. What's going on? How are your characters changing? How are they evolving? How is the story moving forward? If it's sitting there and spinning its wheels, it's not moving forward. Why are you doing that? Is there a good reason for that? If there isn't, gut it, cut it, kill your darlings. He's a very kill your darlings kind of guy. But I saw this, and there's much more in here. It's a quick read. I mean, it's not terribly long. There's also if you go to I believe it may be this site or another. There's another site, or it might be his actual website. He has links to a bunch of interviews he's done, and they're worth checking out. I would highly recommend you give Joe Abercrombie a shot. And I think even if you're not interested in reading his work, take a look at what he says about his craft, because he clearly is doing things right, and it's resonating with his readers. And like I said, it's always good to get fresh takes. That's why when I read that, I was like, I want to talk to you guys about it. I want to share it with you. So I hope that was helpful and enjoyable. I hope that your Monday is going well. Coming up this week, I'm going to try to get at least another video in before the holiday. I'm going to be cooking like a motherfucker, and lots of people coming over for Thanksgiving. I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but it's kind of a tradition. I went to game store for a long time, so we had lots of kind of orphans. We had lots of people who were they're in college and they're away from home, or they didn't have a lot of immediate family. So I just invite them all over here, and it's a long-standing tradition. So my kids usually come if they can. I'm hoping they can come this year. My dear friends Dave and Susie are coming down. They're the kids' godparents. They are fantastic. They're coming down, so I got to get the house cleaned up, and then I got to start cooking. 1 year after my ex-wife and I had separated, it was one of the early Thanksgivings. My kids suffered through a lot of fucking rough Thanksgivings, a lot of bad ones. But 1 year I was like, kids, do you want me to do a turkey, or do you want me to do a roast, or do you want me to do a ham? What do you want me to do? And they went, yes. So I took out a second mortgage and went to the grocery store, and that's actually what I did that this year, because Jesus, everything was expensive. But the tradition was I made a turkey, I made a ham, I made a roast. And when you got that much fucking food, you're like, hey, come over and eat, please. God, I got this on this from my mom. My mom loved to cook. She loved to care for people and entertain. She was always the last one to eat. Always like, you get a plate? Get a plate. Y'all go on in there and get a plate now. That was my mom. And her relatives, her sisters, and would be like, Mom, come on, you gotta eat too. You gotta eat. So I'm gonna be cooking probably Wednesday and Thursday and getting the house ready. But I'm gonna throw in another video because I really love talking to you guys, and it's been too long. And I really have enjoyed this. I am thankful for you guys, very much so. Anyway, The link to the Abercrombie interview will be in the video, along with a link to my Patreon. Consider jumping on there. If you like this video, please share it, and please join the channel. We've had a huge amount of people jump on in the last week or so. I just basically begged. It's like I went on social media and just went, please, God, please, will you sign up for my channel? So, and you know, that kind of pathetic wheedling will sometimes work. So I'm going to wheedle some more. Please sign up for my channel. Please sign up. Click that little bell if you want notifications for some more quality entertainment like this. If I don't get a chance to tell you in the next video, I hope everyone has a fantastic holiday. I hope you have good, wonderful people to spend it with. And please know that I really do consider you guys part of my family. And thank you for that. I'm very thankful for the books. I'm very thankful for the support and the kind words that I get. And it means a lot. You mean a lot. So thank you. All right. I will stop with all the whooshy shit, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Where's the button? There's the button. It's a professional channel here. Let me tell you what. We don't edit. We don't edit me sitting there going, oh, what part of this article do I? No, this is professional. Look it up. Have a great holiday, guys. I will see you. One more video this week if I can squeeze it in. Love to you all, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.